This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on the warmth of India-Bangladesh relations. The participants are Rajesh Kumar Jha, Prasar Bharati Special Correspondent, Dhaka, and Abhineet Shukla, AIR Correspondent.
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasinas will be on a 4-day visit to India starting from tomorrow. This will be her second visit after 2019. The meet is majorly about deeper cooperation, sharing of river waters, connectivity, energy and food security, as well as trade and investment opportunities. What dimensions are the India and Bangladesh leaders going to talk about will be a major takeaway for all. So to get a better understanding on this, today we have Mr. Rajesh Jha, Prasar Bharati Special Correspondent in Dhaka with us. In recent years, both India and Bangladesh have gained an upswing in relationship, both in terms of cultural and historical ties. Mr. Rajesh Jha, what is the significance of Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasinas' 4-day visit to India?
Yes, indeed. You have rightly said that in recent years the India-Bangladesh relations have gained an upswing in the relationship. This is what is called the Shonali Adhyay, the golden period of India-Bangladesh relations. And this is based on the cultural and historical ties between the two countries. If you look at the relations between India and Bangladesh, it goes back at least to 1971, 50 years, the time when Bangladesh became an independent country in 1971. The foundation of the relationship between the two countries was laid in that, because India played a crucial role in the liberation of Bangladesh, and that has strengthened, inspired, and continued to remain as a strong foundation and bedrock of the relations between the two countries. Beyond that, also if you look at the culture, the language and the people of the two countries, they share very deep historical ties that goes much beyond the 50 years. After all, Bangladesh has its national poet, Rabindranath Tagore is the one who wrote the national anthem for Bangladesh. Qazi Nazrul Islam came to Bangladesh from India. These people are equally assets and the great heroes of both the countries. And if you look at it, even Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in one of his speeches earlier, that Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is as much a hero for India as he is for Bangladesh. So now at this level, both the countries share a very strong relationship that goes back to history, culture, people-to-people ties and all those things. Now in the recent times, the depth of this relationship can be seen in the fact that even during the time of the COVID pandemic, both the countries retained a very high level of interaction. Several high-level visits took place. The trade was continued, the bottlenecks in supply lines were quickly overcome, and both these countries continued to have exchange of high-level officials and delegations. So much so that in last year, that is 2021, when Bangladesh was celebrating its 50 years of liberation, also the 50 years of the establishment of diplomatic ties between the two countries, and the birth centenary year of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. In that year, within a span of almost a year, all the three top dignitaries from India, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, the President, and also the Foreign Minister paid a visit to Bangladesh. And these were the visits which were kind of the first visits of these people immediately after there was a little bit of respite from the pandemic. So all these things show the strength of these two countries.
During Sheikh Hasinas' visit to India, Bangladesh and India are going to sign the MOU on interim sharing of water of the Kushiara River, which was finalized at the 38th Ministerial Level meeting of the India-Bangladesh Joint Rivers Commission JRC held earlier in Delhi on August 25th. Mr. Jha, how crucial is this agreement for both nations?
Of course, during the meeting between Prime Minister Sheikh Hasinas of Bangladesh and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the MOU on the interim sharing of water of the Kushiara River is likely to be signed. It is a very important MOU which is likely to be signed, and the draft of this was finalized during the Joint River Commission meeting held earlier August 25. As you know, India and Bangladesh share 54 rivers. 54 rivers travel between both the countries, and it is an important area of bilateral relation. And Bangladesh and India have been working hard to evolve ways and means so that there is an equitable distribution of water. They are able to utilize the resources in a manner that is beneficial for both the countries. and in many cases to minimize the impact of flood and pollution. Now the Government of India and Bangladesh have been working, the Joint River Commission has been working on the sharing of water of 7 rivers of the two countries, and there has been some progress on that. The technical people have been working on that, and there would definitely be progress. India has agreed to share real-time data on floods with Bangladesh. Downstream, the rivers flowing from India and the floods taking place in both India and Bangladesh, sharing of the real-time data on floods is a very important part of minimizing the human cost, minimizing the economic cost of the floods. If you get the information on time, you can always prepare, and it is an extremely important thing. So this is one area in which the progress has been made, and both the countries are working hard to make progress on the sharing of the 7 other rivers which are in the pipeline. Connectivity is a key area of cooperation between India and Bangladesh. If you remember, during his visit to Bangladesh, Minister of External Affairs Dr. S. Jaishankar had said that if one is to look at the next 25 years of relationship between India and Bangladesh, the center of that relationship, the fulcrum of that relationship would be connectivity. And it is truly so. If you look at the India-Bangladesh relationship, the cooperation in the field of connectivity has grown in multiple ways. For example, look at the rail connectivity. As you know, before 1965 there were 6 interchange lines, there were 6 railway lines which were active between India and Bangladesh. They were all closed, but gradually India and Bangladesh have been able to open 5 out of the 6 railway tracks. And the 6th is also, work is going on, and it is also likely to open in the near future. The rail connectivity between India and Bangladesh, if you look at the recent development, there has been a new train been started between India and Bangladesh which goes from Dhaka to Siliguri, which directly connects Bangladesh to the entire northeast of India. A large number of tourists from India would be able to go to Sikkim, to other areas of northeast, and not only to that, they will be able to go to Bhutan also. So it opens the whole channel of movement of people from Bangladesh to India, and also trade. If there is railways, is a far cheaper and faster way of trade than say the road connectivity. So in terms of railways, India has been working hard, and Bangladesh has also been trying to prove its connectivity with India in several ways. The Railway Minister of Bangladesh recently said during the inauguration of one of the railway projects being funded by the Indian line of credit that Bangladesh wants to make all its railway tracks, convert them into broad gauge. A large number of railway tracks in Bangladesh continue to be meter gauge even now, and Bangladesh wants to convert them into broad gauge, because that will mean a seamless connectivity with India, where most of the railway tracks are now broad gauge. Coming to another aspect of connectivity between the two countries, the issue of transshipment, which is a very important area. The location of Bangladesh is such that if the Indian goods are allowed to travel through Bangladesh, then they can travel from West Bengal to the entire northeast through territory of Bangladesh in a much shorter and much faster way, at a much less cost than through the land route, which takes several times more distance to cover. There was an agreement between India and Bangladesh in 2018 which allowed it to use the Mongla and Chattogram port for the transshipment of goods. Recently, just a day or two back, the 3rd trial run of a ship from the Shyama Prasad Mukherjee port in Kolkata coming over to Chattogram. Earlier, another shipment had come from the Shyama Prasad Mukherjee port from Kolkata to Mongla, and from here the containers were transported to the borders of Meghalaya, to the borders of Assam, and the things were delivered into India. This has reduced the cost of transportation of commodities significantly, and that is going to boost the efficiency of trade between the two countries, and that is going to be very important. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasinas, in her interview with ANI yesterday, she said that Bangladesh has offered not only the use of the Chattogram and Mongla ports, but also the international airports at Sylhet and Cox's Bazar. Bangladesh, as I told you, its location is such that it could become a kind of bridge, kind of connecting line between India and Southeast Asia. So that is very significant. In terms of the road connectivity, the India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway project continuing. Bangladesh has expressed its interest in joining this highway project, and if it happens, that will again be something will be very significant to enhance the connectivity between the two countries.
Sheikh Hasina has praised PM Narendra Modi's gesture of providing COVID-19 vaccines to neighboring countries under its Vaccine Maitri program and rescuing Bangladesh's students who were stuck in Eastern Europe amidst Russia-Ukraine conflict. Mr. Jha, how much these efforts by the Indian government strengthened the bilateral terms with Bangladesh?
It is more than 2 years since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the world, and the memory of the hard days and the most horror days filled with horror are probably fading from the mind of the people. But if you remember, when this pandemic struck the world, India was the first country to offer support to Bangladesh. It offered support in terms of providing vaccine, and it sent a couple of million doses of vaccines when the world was struggling. Indeed, India was also struggling to find enough number of vaccine, but considering the value, the importance of India-Bangladesh relations and its stated objective of working for the larger humanity and standing in a leadership role in the world, India agreed to send vaccines to Bangladesh. Not only sending vaccines, India also continued with providing a lot of logistical support. At that time, India had been able to ramp up its production, and it was in a position to provide the medical grade oxygen for the Bangladesh. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took a very significant and a very strong position in terms of the friendly gesture of supporting Bangladesh in all aspects, and that has continued to reverberate in the sentiments of the people. Of course, Bangladesh has now been able to procure the vaccines from all over the world, and it has been able to vaccinate almost the majority of its people.
In an interview with ANI, Sheikh Hasina has called India a tested friend of Bangladesh. How do you view this, Mr. Rajesh Jha?
We all know a friend in need is friend indeed. And on several occasions, India has proved that it stands with Bangladesh at the time of crisis. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, her interview with ANI talked about the period in 1975 when almost the entire family, 18 members of the family were killed in an assassination. During that time, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and her sister were out of country and they were saved. India offered them security, India offered them a place to live, and they lived in India for several years. Under a pseudonym, they were given a different name so that they are secure, and India played a great role, and she remembers it. If you talk to the senior leaders of Bangladesh in the government and people who are the freedom fighters in Bangladesh, they'll tell you that the relationship between India and Bangladesh is based on blood, because the people of both the countries shed blood for the liberation of Bangladesh. Of course, it was a victory of the people of Bangladesh, but the Indian armed forces, thousands of people were brutally murdered here, and a large number of people from the Indian armed forces also lost their lives, and the people of Bangladesh, the leadership of Bangladesh remembers them with gratitude, with great feeling, that these are the people who helped us in overthrowing the brutal regime of Pakistan which ruled Bangladesh in 1971. So it is true that India is a trusted friend of Bangladesh. From all parameters, from all points of view, as we talked earlier, it is reflected in the COVID pandemic, and it is reflected in several other things. Whenever there is a crisis in Bangladesh, whenever there is a natural calamity, India is the first country to offer its support to Bangladesh, and so is true about Bangladesh. If there is something that happens in India, Bangladesh is ever willing to support it, and the relationship becomes stronger, and the bond of the two countries becomes stronger with each and every such step. So there is no doubt that India and Bangladesh are tested friends, and the visit of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to Bangladesh would further strengthen it, add more substance to it, move it into a new direction, take it to a new height, and that is sure. The details would be known very soon when the meeting takes place, but there is no doubt that the relationship would scale new heights with the visit of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to India that begins tomorrow and concludes on September 8th.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajesh Jha, for giving us updates about Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visit to India.
You were listening to a discussion on the warmth of India-Bangladesh relations. The participants were Rajesh Kumar Jha, Prasar Bharati Special Correspondent, Dhaka, and Abhineet Shukla, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR.